Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the punk rock revolution. So what was the punk rock revolution and how did it start? Well, it all started when people began to think, hey, what happened to rebellious rock? The rock now is all slow and calm and not what we remembered it. So naturally, people began making their own music, the way they wanted it to sound, and this was called punk rock. The date that is officially named the year that the punk rock revolution began was in 1974. The birthplace of punk rock is in Greenwich Village in New York City in a club called the CBGB. And the punk rock revolution started in Australia around 1975 in the Oxford Tavern, which is now called the Oxford Funhouse. And about the same time, the punk rock revolution started in the UK when Malcolm McLaren saw what was being started in the CBGB club. In 1977, the punk rock revolution was a global revolution now, and people were listening to it all around the world. However, it was not fully accepted into culture until the 1990s. So some people think, well, why is it called a revolution? It's just a bunch of people playing music and then listening to it. Well, it's considered a revolution because punk wasn't accepted in society, and it was often frowned upon. But then later, it became a big part of Western culture and changed a lot of music and clothing that we have today. So at the beginning, only a few people listened to this type of music, and then it really did get a much bigger following, and bands like the Sex Pistols and the Ramones were the main bands that started the spread of the punk rock all around the world, and many people still listen to their music today. And as well, different subcategories of music were made because of the punk rock revolution, and some are very popular today. So if it is considered a revolution, then what are the steps of the revolution? Well, the first step is the problem. So the problem for many people was rock was too smooth, and they wanted rebellious music again. So then later came the second step, the idea. So people decided that they were going to make their own music, which sung of rebellion and anarchy. So the third step is the leaders. So who was the leader? Well, the main leader was the band The Ramones, which was one of the first major punk rock bands that became very popular and exposed the rest of the world to punk rock. So the fourth step is the spark. So the spark of this revolution was mainly centered around the CBGB club, where punk bands began to play small gigs, which then later moved to Australia and England as the ideology of punk began to spread around the world. So the fifth step is the execution. So by the mid-70s, the Sex Pistols, Blondie, The Cure, and the Ramones began writing new songs and new records. And to get a lot of their music out to the public, they had to use some illegal actions. And some illegal actions were the use of drugs and alcohol for writing songs, and also the main topic of some songs. However, some albums were illegally exposed. For example, the Sex Pistols album, God Save the Queen, was banned in the UK. However, they illegally sold and distributed this album to manage to make it to the #1 album in the UK. So, the change occurred in 1977 when punk was finally getting the spotlight in magazines and newspapers. Multiple bands like Blondie and the Ramones got high spots on the record charts and were becoming more and more popular around the world. Punk was finally mainstream. However, it was still highly frowned upon until around the 90s when it was finally accepted into culture. Well, why is this revolution important? Why did it matter in the first place? Well, punk rock actually had a very big effect on both music and culture. Tattoos and piercings became very popular, as well as black clothing like t-shirts and jeans. Band t-shirts were extremely popular to express people's ideas and rebellion. But they can also be viewed by some people as clothes that drug users wear, which is the main reason why my mom doesn't let me wear this shirt in public. Punk rock's also the main reason why genres such as punk pop, alternative rock, screamo, hardcore, and genres that use a mix of these genres were created in the first place. Some well-known bands that came from the revival and acceptance of punk rock are Green Day, who still wear eyeliner today. I'm sure their parents are very proud. Blink-182, Charlotte, Simple Plan, Fall Out Boy. All of these bands have gotten plenty of popular songs to reach high spots on record charts. Also, due to these genres, the annual tour called the Vans Warped Tour, which is one of the largest tours in the world that travels all around the US and the UK, was started to debut new bands of these genres, as well as some more well-known bands. Without the punk rock revolution, these bands and genres of music would not have been creative, or nearly as successful. Clothing and other fashion would also be quite different. So, what patterns do all revolutions follow? Well, revolutions always start with a problem. Then people have an idea on what they want changed. But they can't get anything done without having a leader. And so once they have a leader, all they need is the spark to start the revolution and to get their idea out there. Then there's the execution, which is where they start doing actions to change what they want to be changed. And then finally there is the change, which shows whether the revolution was successful or not, and basically depends on if what the people wanted changed was changed or if it wasn't.